G'day, welcome to Project Brupeg, the story of a sunken fishing trawler converting to a global expedition and research boat. This week we've got quite a few jobs on the go at once.
It's been busy.
It's been flat out. We've had lots of people and we've had lots of jobs all happening. We're working on installing a generator into Brupeg's engine room.
And Dame organised the exhaust to go on that generator.
Yep, and AC wiring is happening. So this is our shore power and the power that comes from that generator. We're starting to organise the systems and all of the components that are needed to make that system happen.
We started an upgrade for the mains alternator.
Yep, and that's going to give us the ability to have a rev counter in the wheelhouse, something that we've not had up until this point.
And we started the shroud to go over the exhausts, and also an upgrade to all 4 exhausts.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to let everyone know, because of the coronavirus, we're actually isolating. I'm immune compromised, and so we've got to be really, really careful. So we're having a break from volunteers and Patreons on board, and visitors. Episodes kind of keep coming, and we might look a little haggard because we're going to be increasing our hours that we'll be working. So stay safe and look after each other, and we'll let you know when things change.
What we're thinking, now that we've got it basically stripped down in terms of the orange frame, you can see the motor sits on this little black frame. You got the mount, there's the aluminium mount coming down, goes onto the black frame just there, and then the black frame goes onto the orange frame. What the plan is, we're going to take the generator and the black frame as one unit off the orange frame, and then get rid of all the wheels and all that sort of stuff, cut what we don't need off that orange frame, and then we're going to mount that permanently into the engine room, because that's a blimmin' hardy little frame for us to use, and then we can start mounting all of the standard stuff back into it.
Every day that dog has to turn up and have a little pat, and then he races back and he's satisfied. It's awesome.
This is the plan that I've got to build, so it's slightly higher at one end than the other, and we're going to use some 50 by 10 mil flat bar, so it's quite stiff, so we'll build the frame out of that for now, and then we'll make some little brackets and bracing and things so that it can hold on to that orange frame of the generator. So on Brupeg we have a number of electricity systems on the boat. We've got DC electricity, so direct current, and we've got AC electricity, or alternating current. DC is what's in your batteries, in your car and your phone, that sort of thing. And our house bank is a DC battery bank. Our solar panels charge that bank, and then the DC bank runs things like all of the navigation gear, the computers in the boat, and the fridge, as well as things like lights and a few sort of charge ports around the boat. Now that's basically what we call our low load system, so it's nothing massive is running off those batteries. Everything big, so air conditioners, hot water heating, that sort of thing, anything that's a large load runs off the AC system, and the AC system has 2 inputs. One is the generator and one is shore power. So today we're figuring out how to basically hardwire in that new generator, as well as sort out a new shore power system that's going to be a permanent system into Brupeg. So under the wheelhouse floor we've got our battery box, so you can see our battery sort of tucked away over there. There's some black coiled up cables there. That's our 3 conductor AC cables that we're going to be using today. So you can also see along the floor and then along that front there's cable trays. That's for our DC. We need to extend that, or make a variation of that, and bring it right the way along the front here and into this corner and punch through this bulkhead in the corner here. Now, where all of this is, so these are the stairs that actually lead up into the wheelhouse, and what the plan is on the bulkhead that's basically at the back of the stairs. So if you look through the stairs, you can sort of see there's a grey bulkhead there. That is the back of the DC control panel. So what we want to do is mount this circuit box here. So this is going to become our main circuit box. It's like a little opening door jobby where we can get to all of our breakers and everything, and they mount on this rail here. So it's called a DIN rail, and basically you have your circuit breakers that mount along that central rail, and that's going to form the basis of our AC circuits in the boat. I'm going to get stuck into this mount for the little 5 kilowatt generator, get that thing bolted in so we can start hardwiring into the boat. 190. Come in here with your redneck ideas. So it sits like that in the boat, slightly up like that because the rib goes high, and then I'm going to weld some tags on this side and the frame sits into there, and then it'll be bolted to that, so it's all out of pretty solid steel. So I'll weld this all up and I'll blast it and paint it in there. I'll catch it. Yeah. The alternator that Trevor unbolted last week had to be lifted off the boat, thrown into the truck so we can take it to the scrapyard. That's what it is. When I was running the engine the other day, I couldn't work out why I had a diesel leak, and I realised the return line is above that hatch and the hatch isn't bolted on. It just kept pissing bloody diesel out the hatch. I was thinking, there's so much diesel, where's it coming from?
Oh, that's speaking of hatches and that. Have you got that
Rubber? Not yet.
Not yet?
Need to order. Oh, how's that for a blooming guess?
Beautiful.
Close enough.
A level just to find out it's close enough.
Yeah.
I told you that before you left.
I was double checking your measurements.
Oh.
Trev just turns up for the humour. Part of the wiring installation is running conduit and gluing it to various parts of the boat. So we needed to give it 24 hours to dry. So in this case we're just cutting it to length and gluing it around the boat where it needs to be so that we can later on start working with it and not have to worry about it falling off the wall. Okay. Alright, incoming. Right, you want to twist it over? Once this conduit is glued in, this is going to hold our main AC feed from the generator or shore power. That brings it up to the front of the boat where we can put it into our main din rail box here, which we're about to glue on behind the stairs, which is a spot that can't be used for anything, but it's perfect for this little contraption. Somewhere about there. What we've come to is a point where we need to figure out what's going where. So we're going to sit down and do a bit of design so that we can figure out exactly what pieces of electrical equipment are where in the boat, and how we're going to start setting those out on the boat. So we've got a few things that we need to do. We need to go through, draw out a bit of a mud map as to where things are going to be, and then we can figure out cable trays, penetrations through bulkheads, that sort of thing, and then also figure out what we need to do with our cabling. There are parts running into town. Apparently this does not qualify as a hairdryer according to Jess. I need you to tell me where you like power plugs and stuff.
They need like desk space, like they need screens, like 2 screens each.
So we got 4 here, 4 there, we got 2 there. You're awesome. He's donated it.
What? Oh.
Yeah, you're bloody awesome.
Oh.
Good. Yeah, cool.
Oh, that's neat.
I've just been told that we've had approval to get Indian for dinner, so we can go in and get that and collect. What time are you guys open till today? You're there till 5. What time is it now?
It's 3:30.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So we'll be in an hour.
Yeah, okay. We'll come in before 5. We'll be there about 4:30ish. Lovely. See you then. Thank you. See ya. God, he's cool.
You put a little to camera just when you pick it up.
Yeah.
Ask him, make sure you get permission.
Yeah, well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I like this idea of having it down here, because even if people are just laptoping on their knees, if the cord's right there, it's so easy. Like,
So a row of power across there?
Yeah, like I don't know how many you'd need to do, maybe.
You could do a double, like you could do a double on that side, or actually no, maybe put it in between.
I was thinking that. Alright, so what else? Have you got one for outside for like a normal plug?
Yes,
You've got short plug, but normal plug, that one.
And the yellow cable,
That's
going to stay,
Yeah.
that's not changing.
Alright.
And then
That's the short
power.
Okay, cool.
And you physically can't get the wrong, like it won't fit, just won't plug in.
We should probably decide on down the stairs as well.
With our 24 volt house bank, we could charge 50 iPhones and it wouldn't make any difference. We wouldn't even notice it. Yeah, but if we're not connected to shore power and we turn the generator off, we're running on batteries, and if anything's AC, it has to go through an inverter. So we're better off I think to charge things with DC. Like we're better off to have like USB ports in the wall that are DC charging. Cooktop. We need oven's 15 amp. Back from town, and we picked up our stainless exhaust shroud. So this is a piece of 2mm stainless that's bent into a profile that goes around all the exhausts for the main engine and generators and the little Kubota and that sort of thing. So we nipped into town to pick it up. We get it bent at a place called Blue Stream. It's a place in town that does some sheet metal work, and Cam, the owner of Blue Stream, basically said he wanted to donate it to the project, so that was flipping awesome. Thank you so much, Cam, this is great. Completely not expected and a lovely surprise for a Friday night. Now, look at this. So this is our dinner for the night, so I'm pretty chuffed about that.
You are. Look, you've got your lovely meal here. Look on your bed. There you go. Oh, look at your little rubby.
So in Brupeg we need to do an upgrade on the main engine alternator. The reason we need to do this is the original alternator is, I think it's about 50 or 60 amps, something like that. It's not huge, and it's worked fine for years. However, it's an old alternator and it doesn't have the connections on the back of it that allow us to hook up a rev counter. So you need that on a diesel to be able to get a rev counter to figure out how fast your engine's spinning. So we have to do an alternator upgrade. This is our upgraded unit. So this is a 100 amp alternator that was donated from by Richard, one of our patrons in the States, and I believe that this came off a Chevy truck. So it's a fairly, it's not a monstrous alternator, but it's more than enough for what we need, because this is only charging the start battery on Brupeg, so it'll be plenty big enough for what we need. Now, some of the challenges is this is a serpentine belt. So if I grab a belt, you can sort of see the paint makes it quite easy to see, but you've got lots of little ridges for the alternator belt pulley to grip onto that belt. Now the original alternator over here has V-belts, has two double V-belts. These are okay, but they're not as good as a serpentine belt. Now, one of the challenges that we have to do, so the alternator is going to be mounted up in this area in here, and the tensioner sits in this area here. Now normally the belt comes from here and goes straight across to this pulley here, and the tensioner pulls up to basically bow that belt up like this in order to make it tight. Because we're going to be putting an alternator pulley here, we need to push it down. So Trev today is going to figure out how to do this bracket, how we're going to mount it, and then I'm going to go and figure out how to convert this from being a pulley to a pushy type tensioner. Maybe we just take this off for now so that you can use it to line stuff up. If you make a bracket that screws into these threads on the block and then bolts to that one and to that one, solid mounted, then you could just have a bracket that comes up with a couple of, it'd be quite a simple think, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it would be, but I'm just trying to think of the
angles or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep as much belt on this drive.
Got you. So if we get it wrong, are we going to put negative 14 volts into the battery?
I suck the battery through the alternator.
Yeah. We've got this plastic IP box with cable glands coming in and out, so we've got our large rubber insulated cable that we're using, and then we're putting a 15 amp plug on top of that, just so that we can, we have to join the cables in this box, so we're going to make that a power point at the same time. And then over on the far side you can see there's about 90 kilometres of tape holding on a DIN rail box, so we've glued that on at the moment, and then the generator is going to be sitting over on that side, and that's going to be where we'll have our switch here. So this is basically switching between shore power and generator. So these components will start coming together this morning into a bit of a system. I'm about to nip off and grab some exhaust, and then I've got to finish this mount, so that steel mount needs to be sandblasted and then welded in so that the generator can sit on it. So that's our morning's work. Trev's doing a steel hunt. That'll probably work, won't it?
Probably, yeah, I think it'll be enough.
Yeah, that's the same stuff, that's 10 mil.
Way over the top.
Yeah.
Should be just strong enough.
You know that we like to slightly over-engineer stuff.
Way over the top is just strong enough.
If it's if we can make it so that it could take a direct hit with a Cessna and survive, I reckon we're probably about right.
Or a 747.
Oh, it's probably over-engineering it, isn't it?
We don't do that.
Middle ground, 737.
Alright.
We need to organise an exhaust for the new 5 kilowatt generator, so Russell's using a trick. Expanding the pipe out, basically you make the pipe a slightly bigger diameter and you can slide the next piece of pipe into it, and then it makes it really, really easy to weld. You don't have to worry about any sort of misalignment. Yeah, lovely, nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, TIG's pretty beautiful when you get it right, eh? Oh, yeah. In this situation we're joining two pipes together using a TIG welder. TIG's an awesome little way of joining pipes together in a really neat way. You don't get a lot of splatter, and when you've got your alignment really good, like in this case they're both perfectly straight, it means you can get a beautiful weld. You don't even need to put any filler wire or any additional metal into it. You just melt the two together.
If you don't have it exactly touching each other, you'll have to use your filler.
Yeah, righto. It comes up beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah, I might just do it there.
So just at the exhaust shop, we've got a 8-inch long flexi, and it's slightly too big a diameter for the pipe. So what we're going to do, I'll show you with some pieces of pipe we've just made. We've shrunk these pipes down, so that was the original diameter, and you can see it's shrunk down quite a bit where my fingers are. And then that gets welded onto there like that, and then this bit here is the right diameter to slide onto our pipe work for the 5 kilowatt generator. When you shrink pipe, you're basically using a hydraulic ram to crush the pipe inwards. So you've got the rod on the right hand side, and it forces itself over top of the exhaust pipe. So when Russell puts it in the little clamp here like this, you'll see the hydraulic ram comes over it, forces it down. It's essentially crushing the pipe in. Pull it back and you can see there's a reduced diameter now.
Alright.
Yeah. So back on the electrical installation, so this box here is a IP rated box, and we have to terminate some wires there. So rather than just join wires and move them along, we decided to put a 15 amp plug in that box. Cables then come across the roof. You can see them in the conduit here, flexi conduit. They move up to a 32mm solid conduit that works all the way across the engine room from one side to the other. They go right over to the far side. You've got a little bit of a dog leg, and then back into solid conduit again. And then you can sort of see the cable here just coiled up down on the ground. Trev's in the process of making these brackets, so we'll cut that shape there out, which clears all around here for the alternator. And then, so that's 6mm, this one here is 10mm. And what we're going to do, at the front of the alternator here we'll have the 10mm, and at the back of the mounts here we'll have the 6mm. We'll drill through the 6, and the 10's going to be tapped, so there'll be a bolt coming through from the other side, from the back of the motor forward, and it basically screws into this piece of 10mm plate here. So the generator has a number of rubber mounts. It bolts onto a black frame. The generator itself bolts onto a black frame which is rubber mounted, and then the black frame is rubber mounted to the orange frame, and then because of that there's going to be a potential fair amount of movement. It's also a single cylinder, so they're nowhere near as smooth as some of the other motors, like a 2-cylinder or a 4-cylinder. They kind of even each other out, whereas a single cylinder just bangs and bounces all over the show. They're just horrid for vibration and things like that, so we're doing everything we can to basically kill vibration, and also rubber mounting the exhaust and everything, as well as the flexies, to allow for any noise won't necessarily transmit through into the steelwork of the boat.
Must have got completely soaked the other day, I think.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, it's hop's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
It'll take all day to dry that.
I think so. Nice to not have some rain for a little bit. It's good.
And that's what we end up with once we've wet blasted. So nice clean white metal. There'll be a little bit of surface rust over this when it's all dried off, but it really doesn't matter for what we're doing. We're going to be putting rust kill on that anyway, and that'll convert it into iron phosphate, which is nice and strong. We'll be able to paint it inside the engine bay without any drama. They're coming up all right. Lovely. We could drill them like that and then separate them and put them on the mount. What do you reckon? Yeah, nice. So we managed to get that welding done now. We've got the frame basically positioned. We can start finishing off the actual physical mounting of that generator. Behind the scenes the wiring's still happening. So over the back you can see there's a black cable strapped to the side of the cable tray, runs up the wall right the way along this plastic conduit that we glued in yesterday, comes through our 25mm cable gland here, and then this is our main AC power feed from the engine room, shore power and generator up into the boat. It's quite big. I think it's 10mm squared cable, so it's plenty bigger than what we need, but it gives us room for growth in the future. So we're going to bring it through into this DIN rail box and we'll start setting out our breakers. And then up here, this is going to be the new entrance for our shore power. So we're going to have a similar looking box up here. They'll have a 15 amp single phase socket. It'll go over top of all of that. The cable will go through that cable gland. Look at there, so it's a normal pin but in reverse. It sticks out rather than sticks in. So the plan is to run it from that cable gland there along the wall, sort of down to roughly half a metre in front of the back wall, and then all the way down and into the engine bay. So that's going to be the new shore power direction. So down the bottom here, Trev is flat out on the bracket. So we made a couple of alarming discoveries last night. We realised that the circuit design that we did, not 100% happy with it, the AC circuit we're talking about. So essentially if we had not changed it, it would have left when we switched the main breaker off, it would have left the engine room live. So we've revised our drawing totally so that we've got full control over the circuits when we turn them off. We also made a discovery about the little generator that I've just put into the engine room. It's mounted the wrong way around. It encroaches into the space that I need for the ventilation for the engine room. That's a future build and I need to allow for that, so we're actually going to spin the generator around 90 degrees. It makes better use of the engine room, and it also means that we've taking up space that wouldn't otherwise be able to be used. So that's this morning's job, make a slightly different shaped mount, cut the old one off that we welded in yesterday and weld the new one in. Trev had a bit of steel yesterday he was mucking around with, and it would be absolutely perfect. It was 50, oh there it is, look at that. So it's a bit of 50mm wide by 6mm thick, just a bit of flat bar. I need 850mm, so just under a metre. So that's going to become my new mount for the generator. So we'll go and start building it out of that. Still got a bit more blasting to do on the boat when we get to it. We're still carrying on with our stabilisers. Jess is heading off. She's doing a little bit of shopping, feed the troops. Sand's drying nicely after two months of rain. We're starting to get some dry sand, so we can actually start getting some sandblasting goop back. So this is what we ended up with. This is it's 400mm wide. It's upside down sitting on the bench, but it's 400mm wide on the bottom there where the generator will bolt to, and then the top of the legs here, what will become the bottom, is 500mm wide between ribs. So there's a wee bit of an angle in, obviously you can see there. The gussets are going to make it nice and strong, and across where the generator bolts, across the bit that's sitting on the bench, that's 12 inches or 300mm between the two gussets. So there'll be 3 bolts across there. It'll be plenty strong enough for what we need. The total weight of the generator is only 100 kg, so this is holding 50 kg, so it'll be pretty robust. I've built it so that we can handle a hell of a bunch of waves and so on. It's not going to move. The plan from now on, I'd say the plan will be, we'll go and sandblast this up, take all the components in, cut the old mount off, and then start welding this one together in there.
Hello. Good morning.
Going? Do I? Yeah. Oh, you ready for a morning tea soon, or?
Yeah. There's 3 jobs happening at the same time. It's hard to keep up with the whole lot. So our AC power starts in the engine room at this stainless box here and works its way around the side of the wall up to our 15 amp plug here. Got some conduit across the roof. Comes through over the back here, across the wall here, and then we've got it coming down towards the front of the engine room. So this is our hydraulic steering, autopilot, hydraulic pipes, etc. And that's the front corner. That burnt paint is where we gassed off, plasman off, sorry, half the sponson for our stabilisers. But this is where my workbench area is going to be, in this corner of the engine room here. So we're using that cable as our supply for the power point, so they're going to be over here. And we're going to put breakers for the bench itself, so that if I do use too much power and it trips a breaker, it's down here with me. I can just reset it rather than having to go all the way to the other end of the boat to sort that out. Down the back of the boat, we've got Trev, who is sorting out the last of the bracket for our new alternator on the main engine. So this is basically what he's building. It's plates like so. There's 2 of them. They weld onto this plate here. He's just about to drill and tap them in the drill press, and that's going to be so that we can get a rev counter sorted out for the main engine. And I'm doing the bracket. I'm cutting off the bracket that I made yesterday. It's wrong, so we're cutting that off, and I'm going to weld in the new bracket that I made. So back down into the engine room, and we'll do sorry about the light, back down into the engine room, and we'll do quite a bit of cutting so that we can get this new mount made that I've just blasted up. Lovely.
Meant for veg.
Smells bloody good.
Oh yeah, you'll be hungry, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty warm in here with all the cooking on.
Where you guys going?
Till we get our ventilation sorted. This is where the hairdryer 3000 is venting out of. So where the hydraulic rams sit, it's basically venting out there, pushing it out the back end of the boat. So it's not ideal because it's pushing it all over the back end of the back deck, but it's better than nothing. It helps us clear it out pretty fast. Down the bottom, I think Trev's still on the bracket. Hanging on. Found some bolts.
Just short ones. I'm just lining up the whole thing.
Yeah, righto.
I'll take a little bit.
Making sure it all works.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, it's probably cleared out enough. It's been going for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. Go back inside and start firing this welder back up.
Thank you. That's many things.
Yep.
Thank you so much, mate.
That's alright, thank you. 6 grains of sand.
Good, good.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're awesome.
I'm watching you, Stu and Dame do the last bit of the wing. It's quite funny, I have to say. Dame, you couldn't hear, and Trevor, you keep going, hey, hey!
So this is the little gen set, and you can see how they mount it. You got this little black frame, so you got the generator itself bolts onto the black frame, and then the black frame has rubber mounts, and they bolt onto the orange frame. So we just need to make sure we can access all of this when we bolt our frame down to our new mounts. Alright, we think we've solved it, or at least partially anyway, so stop laughing.
We solved it first attempt.
What he said. It's been solved, first attempt. There was no pondering, and definitely no version 3s of this solution. Alright, what we need to do is lift this up onto the boat, because it needs to be mounted into the orange tray so that we can start figuring out what we're doing with our bolts. The issue we have, this end here, we need to bolt it into the frame and then bolt the frame into the boat. And this end here, the rubber mount bolt is going through the frame and into the new mount that we've built. It's slightly different at this end, so it's causing a few little hiccups. So yeah, we'll lift it up and we'll start doing some measuring and some drilling. We've got to move some holes. That one there has to come back 10 mil, and this one here we have to drill a new one out off to the side. We just don't know how much room we've got just yet. So we'll get this up onto the boat, get it into the frame in the engine room, and then yeah, we can start going from there. Yep. Yep. Yep, right up. Don't drop it. Like that.
Don't stand under it.
I'm not going to stand under it.
Just go for a bit towards you.
Yep, yep.
Here we go. Right.
Yep.
It's not as heavy as you thought, is it? No, he's it. It might be easy to shift the engine room.
If we get a pole, we could do the pole trick.
Yeah.
That's how we got the last Jenny in. There's a bar and a rope at each end. We carried it, and that was twice as heavy as this. There we go. Bit of steam pipe will do the trick.
It'll do that trick for sure.
3 blokes have poled the generator, and we still can't tie a knot. Come on in.
I'm going to ask for that.
You know. Jeez, it's warm, isn't it?
There we go. Yeah.
Go in.
Same deal, guys. 2. Right, we're in.
Okay, stop for a sec.
So I'll get a plank, put it across here, and we'll just slide it across there straight over. Okay, 3, 2, 1. That's lovely. While we've got a bit of rain, we're going to do the exhaust shroud. So this is a big piece of stainless, 2mm stainless plate that was bent up into a shape. You can sort of see it down the end there. That sits over top of all the exhausts. So we've cut a 100mm strip off, and you can see it's not sitting perfect at the moment, but that's basically what we need to fabricate up. So this 100mm strip we're going to sink down into the deck, so 25mm below and 75mm above the deck, and then we'll do exactly the same up the top here, and we're going to cut the roof out so that it'll be like a completely open hole. Same deal on the bottom down here. We're going to, where all those exhausts just sitting now, we're going to cut that whole lot out so we can stick more exhausts, but also soundproofing and insulation right the way around. while I muck around with that exhaust in what is quite a lovely day, Dom's sorting out our new router. So Dom's been up for 3 days now, and we've been doing engineering. He's an IT specialist, so we're actually utilising him for his skills at the second on IT. We've got the NAS and everything that we installed with Scott a couple of weeks back. Scott set up a new router, which is an awesome little thing, which is going to take the place of our router and our switch. It's sort of a combo unit. The trouble is that something's gone on with the hardware, and the SIM card on this new router is being a bit of a pain. It's not fitting and it's not recognising it, so we might have to do a warranty claim on the router. So for now we're just going to slapdash the NAS back together with what the old system used to be, because Jess needs to start editing and all the files are sitting inside that box just there. So the plan, we need to trim this main section of stainless that we've got, and it's going to fit over top of the little piece that we just welded in. So let me show you what I'm up to. So this is the piece we've just tacked in. We just did a quick measure up from the deck up to the bottom of this beam here. It's 2 meters, almost exactly. So we're going to cut a 2 meter piece out of our stainless. This piece of stainless just there, we're going to cut it 2 meters. So starting at that end, measure up 2 meters, and whatever left is the offcut is going to become the piece that sits at the top there. So it'll have all the weird shapes in it needed to accommodate it. So yeah, we'll get cut into that now and get this middle section so that we can clip it on. So we have our 6-inch exhaust pipe. This is for the main engine. This is the exhaust upgrade that we've been needing to do for a while, and we're going to do it now on half of the exhaust, the bit that's sticking up above the deck. This piece of pipe was donated by Dom, one of our patrons, so that's flipping amazing to have that level of support. We need to stick it into our exhaust shroud. So where we've got up to so far is we have the base welded into the deck. So that's going to act as a water, essentially a barrier for water around the deck and things like that, but then the shroud itself gets glued on top of that. We've got to essentially create exactly the same at the top. So what you can see there, that roof rib, the hole in the roof, etc., is all going to be cut out, and we need to slice. You can see there's a line on that shroud there. We need to slice that line and take that top, foot-long section and modify that to fit into the roof.
After quite a bit of work, the guys got it sorted. It fit beautifully, but more on that later. In the meantime, Trevor and Dame spent a lot of work on getting the arms sorted for the wings.
What I'm suggesting is that if we welded some sort of gadget onto the arm, the arm itself moves out of the way. Like imagine you got the bulky thing welded to here.
Oh yes, yep.
As soon as you pull it up, the arm's
of course it does.
It's clear of everything.
Yeah.
There's no issue. See, the wing's going to be up here somewhere.
That's right.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, just
Frisbee.
yeah, no, that'll work. So we have to.
Yeah, thanks. Let's go and refuel the brain.
Yeah, so we can build it on the top of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, of course we can. Yeah, that's perfect.
And then it got really serious, and I got the best surprise ever.
Like that.
This bloke's doing it.
No, what is it? Go ahead. Trawling or something?
No,
Converting it to an expedition boat.
Oh yeah, nice.
This is what we ended up with in the down position. So you can see the arm ends up being pretty straight. By the time we finish, that'll be essentially a dead straight line locking onto the wing. The wing's down on a roughly 45-degree angle, and then that'll be the position that it goes through the water, sort of sticking out at that angle as we steam forward.
Wow, mind blowing.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh my bloody god, that is incredible. How heavy is it?
that's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy.
So if we have any trouble in an anchorage, we could create a perimeter by sticking these out and steaming around obnoxiously.
You give yourself plenty of clearance.
I love engineering like that, that's incredible.
You look so little on that boat.
Yes, the boat's kind of big.
Yeah, I hope I do.
That is a standard size wife for those that would like some proportion of this boat.
Standard size.
Standard size wife.
I'm going to do this a second time, so.
Cool. It's so surprising. You don't think it's going to go up that way.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like you think the other way, you know.
Yeah.
After all of our tests and our mock-ups and our little jury rig arms and so on to figure out what we're doing, we've actually completely changed the design again. This is a almost daily evolving design on these arms and wings and so on. We had a viewer, Chris, get hold of us, and he's built a number of these wings and arm sets. He's been using them for 25 odd years on boats, and he's worked with a boilermaker down the south end of the country that's built maybe 20 of these wings. So a lot of knowledge came pouring out of these guys, and it was blimmin' awesome. And as a result, we're making some major changes to our wings and also to the arms. But we'll detail that next week. There's literally too much information to try and put into a little blurb like this, so we'll give you the full detail. We'll give you some of the photos of what we're looking to copy, and also some of the challenges that we have to now face as a result of these changes. So yeah, stay tuned, it's going to be pretty interesting.
You got eyes like summer sky. If you're smart, could kill or die. And now it starts to rain, so let's enjoy it.